It's been a while since we've been in the garden together, so I thought today we'd take a walk through, jumping back in time to the end of July, which is really mid-season for us here in Middle Tennessee. And I'll give you some of my thoughts on the earlier to mature varieties and what I will grow and what I won't grow. Again, I have several no-goes this year, but I had some that were absolute superstars. So we'll take a look at that, and then we'll bring you back to present time here, mid-September, and I'll go through with you the things that were later to mature, my final thoughts on those. Again, I have a couple of no-goes, but I have some really great superstars that I will absolutely be growing again. So welcome to Grow and Preserve. I'm Carter, and I'm so glad you're here today. Let's jump in. Today is July 26th, so that puts us just over halfway through our frost-free growing zone here in Middle Tennessee. So I wanted to do an update on the winners and losers, but particularly on the winners at this point. There are still some things I won't know yet, some things I planted late, like the squash and zucchini and cucumbers, that kind of stuff. So we'll kind of reserve judgment on those. But hot peppers, tomatoes, those kind of things, I have enough feedback now to give you my thoughts on most of them. All right, so let's start with hot peppers. Blazing banana is what I'm going to start with. This thing is so incredibly prolific, and these peppers are gigantic. I mean, they're absolutely gigantic. So I think I have 3 of these in the garden, and that's, you know, on a year where I don't need a whole lot of pickled banana peppers, that is too many. So next year I think I'll definitely plant this again, but perhaps not 3. All right, let's move on to the next one. Pekim is a jalapeno. It's a big jalapeno. It's a nice jalapeno. It was the first jalapeno to produce in my garden this year, and it was quite prolific, but it comes in waves. It's not necessarily a continual supply like Jedi and Jalafuego. So I had my first wave, and now I'm just starting to get my second wave. The first wave would have been early June, so quite a long time between. You know, I had a sporadic pepper every now and then with that, but now we're back into wave 2, so that's looking good right now. Okay, let's talk about garden salsa. This one I thought was going to be fantastic. I'd heard good things about it. It's not quite as hot as a jalapeno. I had thought, well, this will be perfect for all of my salsa making, right? So here we go. It's big. It is not as hot as a jalapeno, so those 2 things are good, but it is the most awkward thing in the world to cut. So unless you're making just pepper rings and you want the pretty colors kind of thing, it doesn't really work for me for salsa because of the way I like to cut my hot peppers for salsa. So I probably will not grow this again, but it is a good producer. Jalafuego is next. This is one of my favorite jalapenos. It's a hybrid from Johnny Seed. Great big jalapenos, so prolific, and produces nonstop. There's not a break in harvest like there is for Pekim. Love Jalafuego. All right, very similar to Jalafuego is Jedi. Again, it produces kind of nonstop. I think this year Jalafuego was more productive than Jedi. So we'll see. All right, while we're here, let's talk about poblanos. The poblano I've always grown, has just been called poblano. Well, yuck, it does nothing for me. I get these terrible squatty little things until very end of the season, and then I'll get some that I'm kind of rushing to use all there at the end. So next year, let's find a good, probably hybrid version of poblano and try to get some real poblanos next time. All right, while we're here, this is the Mexican sunflower. I love it. It's big and bushy. You can see it's got a bunch of dead leaves down there I need to get rid of and trim it up, but it has been flowering almost all season. It's terrific. Okay, so let's move to the other side and talk about sweet peppers. So sweet banana peppers. This is Bounty Banana. It is almost identical in size, shape, everything to the blazing banana, but this one is sweet. So this is a great one. Again, if I want some sweet banana peppers next year, this one is great. I will say though, that on both of these banana peppers, both the hot and the sweet, that this one, it gets into some really big rings when I get up here, and I actually prefer the smaller rings. So anyway, something to think about for next year. Okay, Sugar Rush Peach. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about that. It has been extraordinarily prolific. I'll be doing my third harvest of those today. So I have 3 plants, and that gave me a ton of peppers very early and constantly, basically. All right, let's compare the Roma tomatoes. So this year I planted 4 different varieties, 3 of them red, 1 of them golden. This is the Golden Roma. There you go, the Golden Roma. It's a nice sized tomato. There are probably more seeds and gel in this than in the other Romas, but it's good, it's pretty. I don't notice any kind of flavor difference at all, but that's a good one. Okay. This is an M.I. Gardner Roma tomato. So you can see it's much smaller. This is a Plum Regal Roma tomato. So look at the size difference there. So this is M.I. Gardner, this is Plum Regal. Huge difference. Plum Regal I definitely want to grow again. It's been a great producer as well. Let's see, I also have Italian. All right, this is Italian Roma. So here I have M.I. Gardner here, Italian here. So Italian is bigger than M.I. Gardner. This is Plum Regal here, and this is Italian. So Plum Regal is definitely the largest. Italian is kind of a nice shape to cut and roast, so I may continue to grow that next year as well. But I'm definitely doing the Plum Regal, and we'll probably do some Golden Roma. Okay, let's talk about our first few cherry tomatoes here. I have Sun Peach and Sun Sugar. Both of those are doing pretty well. I will say that Sun Peach is being quite prolific this year. Sun Sugar is not being as prolific, but I'm not having the splitting that I had with Sun Gold, and the flavor to me is just as good. So we'll see. I don't know, it hasn't been the best cherry tomato year I've had. They've been taking a little bit longer. I don't know if that's because I had other things planted in the beds with some of them. You know, maybe because we started so early with the high heat and humidity. I'm not really sure, but they are producing now, and that's hard to argue with. So happy with both of those 2 varieties, and I'll probably do them again next year as well. All right, so this year was the great experiment with Determinate slicer tomatoes. I have 2 clear winners. One is probably going to go down as one of my all-time favorite tomatoes. So that one is Carolina Gold. It produces a big, beautiful gold tomato, very few seeds, lots of flesh, not mushy, really, really nice tomato. The other one that's been a great producer of some beautifully huge tomatoes is Bella Rosa. So that is it's kind of pinkish. I'll go ahead and pull this one off. That's a Bella Rosa. Really nice tomato, great flesh on the inside, good size, reasonably prolific for a Determinate slicer of this size. So let's see if I can pull this one off. All right, so there's my Carolina Gold. There's my Bella Rosa. Very close in shape, very close in size, and both a couple of my favorites this year. Okay, so let's talk about the rest of the supposedly slicing Determinate tomatoes. So I have an early wonder over here in this first barrel that kind of got fried early on, did not do well. It's now putting on another flush of tomatoes, and it's looking a little bit better. That, unfortunately, is the one I did choose to plant a second round of. So I had 3 more of those that went in, I don't know, a few weeks ago. So maybe it'll do better not being in that harsh sun. This one here is Heatmaster. Look at that wussy little tomato. Not doing that one again. This one is a Bella Rosa. It did not as well as the other one over there, but I did get some decent sized tomatoes off of that. This one here is Carolina Gold. Again, I just kind of cleared that one out. So these were in some pretty heavy direct sun, and then I put the shade cloth on them. So I don't know how much that impacted them, but we shall see. All right, Phoenix is not looking like a beautiful plant, but the tomato size, go ahead and pull this one. Tomato size is really pretty good. So it looks very similar to those other 2 that I showed you in terms of size and shape. Maybe a little bit smaller than the Carolina Gold and the Bella Rosa, but still a good producer. I have a couple more ready to harvest on here. It is a Determinate, so it's kind of nearing end of life. And then this one, Floridade is another, that's a Floridade versus Phoenix. Yeah, so I'm not going to do Floridade again. I may do Phoenix again. I've got to go taste it again just to make sure. All right, let's finish up the hot peppers while I'm being attacked by a tomato here. This is more of the blazing banana. Again, they're just tons and tons of them. While we're at it, we should talk about the Santa Fe Grand. It is always a fantastic producer. Kind of looks like a red jalapeno, but slightly different body shape if you look at them side by side. It's always a great producer in my garden. They are in a totally different spot this year, sun-wise and on the side of the garden, than they were last year and the past 2 years actually, and they're just killing it no matter where I put them. So love these, will always grow them. Okay, let's wrap up with the cherry tomatoes because I have a couple different varieties down here. I have Super Sweet 100, which has always been my old standby. It's not doing a whole lot this year. Its cherry tomatoes are quite small, and as always, they split pretty readily. I tried again on the Isis Candy. I grew it 2 years ago. The plant really did nothing. It was always kind of sickly. Didn't grow it last year. Grew it again this year, so I thought. I grew it from the same seed package that I used 2 years ago. And what I got is most definitely not an Isis Candy. Yuck. This one has a hole in it, but that is not by any stretch of the imagination a cherry tomato, Isis Candy, whatever you want to call it. And they all, you know, they're all pretty much that size. Some of them are a little bit smaller. This one looks like it's 2 put together. Let's see. So there's a single. Okay, so there is a difference, but that is still not a cherry tomato. Let me show you a cherry tomato. That is a cherry tomato. So big difference. I don't like the taste of these. They are really seedy, very thin flesh. I really don't like them. I mean, I can can them and that'll be fine, but I'm not gonna put that on a sandwich or a salad and eat that. So I don't know that I'll try Isis Candy again. 2 strikeouts. And then the next one I grew over here is Black Cherry. Let's see. We love Black Cherry. It is slightly larger than the Sun Sugar. than the Sun Peach. Sun Peach is probably my #1 favorite always. So there's the Black Cherry, the Sun Peach. I'll probably grow. I know I'll grow the Sun Peach again next year. I'll probably grow the Black Cherry again next year. Don't know about the Super Sweet 100. I may take a break from that for a year. So that's it so far in the garden. We'll be back at the end of the season. It is now mid-September, and I finally have enough data on the sweet peppers to make some calls here. Which ones I'm going to do again, which ones I'm not going to do again. Before I get started running through this, I did want to point out one thing. Someone mentioned to me a couple of weeks ago about overwintering peppers, and while I have seen folks do that, I have never done that myself. I'm going to do that this year. I think that is a fantastic idea to give a jump start to my sweet peppers for next season. So when it comes time to take the peppers out, that's what I'll be doing, probably with the key peppers I'm going to show you today. All right, we're going to start here at the very beginning. The first plant I have in here is a coral bell. It did nothing. I mean, just absolutely nothing. It never got tall enough because everything else got tall super fast, so it never got any sun. It has one little still green pepper here, so that's probably not one that I'm going to grow again unless we find something different over the barrel behind me. The next one is orange marmalade, and this has actually done pretty well. This is not the first orange pepper that I've had from it, and there are several green peppers. Here's another orange one down here. That's one I'll definitely grow again. I love the orange peppers, fantastic vitamin C content. I love the color. It's just an all-round winner for me. All right, next is Mamma Mia Giallo. This is a yellow version of like a Carmen. This is a fantastically productive pepper this year, in my bed last year as well. But this year has just been particularly crazy. Look, there's a bee. So I have lots of green ones, lots that are changing to yellow, several that are already yellow. I've harvested several. That's just that is a winter of a plant. That one is absolutely going to be overwintered for me, so I can start getting production earlier in next spring. Maybe I'll get some in the spring. It's usually late summer by the time I get sweet pepper production. All right, let's move on down here. I'm going to try to get this this Mamma Mia out of the way. You're going to have to come with me. Okay, I'm kind of in a jungle here, but let's talk about the Ashvarsky, because last year that was a real winner for me. This year it was not. It didn't grow very fast. It didn't get any sun. I've had one red pepper. There's one green one on there now. You know, will I overwinter that one? I don't know. Maybe. I love the big red pepper it produces, but let me show you one that's done even better than this one did last year. Let's go to New Mex Jim Parker. Let's make sure you can see this one. This one is loaded down with peppers. There are so many peppers on this plant. I've harvested so many peppers from this plant. They're everywhere. They're all back in here. I know you can't see, but I have two plants here, and there are probably 15 peppers on there right now. So I love that one. That will absolutely get overwintered. Even these over here belong to the New Mex Jim Parker plant. Okay, this is Big Red. Well, there's nothing big and there's nothing red about Big Red. He did not get big enough. He has nothing. So nothing going on there. Again, it's probably because of his placement, but if I have New Mex Jim Parker, I'm okay without Big Red next year if that's the way it goes. Giant Aconcagua, I still can't pronounce that. This has been a good one. I've got two red ones on here, several green ones on here. I've already harvested several from that plant, so that has really been pretty good. So I may save that as one. I want to go over and take a look at this barrel back here. We'll see if Coral Bell did any better, but I think Orange Marmalade did great. And then I have one other solid producer from this year. Oh, and of course the Bounty Banana. I think we addressed this when we did the hot peppers. It is a sweet version of the banana pepper. It did just gangbusters. It just loaded with these gigantic peppers. So that one I'll definitely do again. Okay, let's move to the next. Okay, we're over here with the barrel in the very back. It gets a lot of shade back here, so I didn't do them necessarily any great favors, but I have some really good production on the Romanian Rainbow. All these red peppers or Romanian rainbow. I've harvested several already. This one it seems I missed before it got attacked by sunburn and then bug damage, I suppose. But that is that's just a great producer, so I'm very happy with that one. That'll be one that I save. Tons of little green ones coming up here. And then over, I don't know if you can see it up there, but I have, this is another orange marmalade. I have one fully orange, two that are turning orange, and probably 10 little green peppers on that plant. And I've got it gets a lot of shade. So orange marmalade is a clear winner, just like it was over on the other bed. I didn't have any more coral bells over here. I thought I did, but I'm not going to bother with that one again. Okay, so before we leave this side of the garden, I want to address the winter squash and the cucumber plants that are over here. Winter squash was doing great. I have angel hair spaghetti squash. I had, I think, 5 fruits on them, and then the pickle worm hit, and I didn't catch it soon enough. So I'm going to have 1 fruit that I can actually salvage from the entire harvest. And I have 2, 3. I have 3. 3 plants. I'll come away with 1 angel hair squash. So that's kind of lousy. Then let's talk about the beta alpha cucumber. I had such high hopes for this. I had heard from multiple YouTube gardeners that this was just a fantastic cucumber. It didn't need any pollinators. It produced all female flowers. It was a great cucumber. Well, not for me. None of that was true. I was so disappointed, I can't even tell you. And I know I talked about this very highly in the beginning of the season, and I am very sorry because it has not, no, it's a total waste of space. So I don't even know what to tell you. 99% of these are male flowers. It took a couple of months to get a female flower. Then when the fruit started growing, it is the most prickly fruit I have ever seen. I mean, literally, you have to almost scrape the darn thing off in order to be able to handle it and certainly to eat it. So beta alpha, no, I'm not doing that one again. It also got hit by the pickle worm. The pickle worm can have it for all I care, although I did spray it just to get rid of the pickle worm in my garden. And I do think that the pickle worm is now gone. 1 spray of BT did the trick. So next year I need to be preemptive with that. I had never seen a pickle worm before. It is gross, not something I ever want to see again, and clearly cost me 80% of my harvest here in my angel hair squash. So I'm really bummed about that. He's not coming back in my garden. So yeah, it's kind of a sad, sorry mess there. So that's this side of the garden. I do have sweet potatoes. Well, let's say this. I have sweet potato vines. I don't know if I have sweet potatoes under there. And frankly, after last year's total bust on the sweet potatoes, I'm kind of afraid to look. But maybe we'll dig down there a little bit. I'll go get some gloves in a bit. Or maybe we won't. I don't know. We'll see. Let's go talk about the butternut squash over here and the zucchini, because it's another kind of sad story on zucchini yet again in my garden. All right, so I wanted to start here because this may well be the only reasonably sized butternut squash I get this year. This is a butterbush. It is a gigantic plant. It should have had something to climb on. I didn't think it was going to need it first time I've grown it, so I didn't give it anything to climb on, so it just kind of took over the bed. But I don't know, if it gives me one, I mean, we're getting pretty close. I still have some green streaking in here, but we're getting close. I had another one over in this bed, did nothing. There is one tiny little butternut squash on there, but it's that big. So, and the plant is virtually dead. So yeah, I'm thinking that was a loss. I have another zucchini over there. This was just a bad bed for sun-loving plants during the summer. It's a fantastic bed for sun-loving plants during the winter, because that tree and that tree have no leaves. So I just really need to pay attention to when I'm planting what in this particular bed. So this bed also has some challenges with sun, but it resolves itself much more quickly. Actually, this one over here doesn't resolve itself until winter. So this one does, because we start getting a lot of sun coming from that direction as we get later into the summer. So these squash and zucchini have had plenty of sun. They're just, I don't know. I didn't have any. I had one squash bug that I saw. I took care of the squash bug. I took care of the eggs. I had one squash vine borer that I saw. I took care of him or her and did not find an egg. So, you know, I don't know. It was over on that side. So it could well be one of the issues with my spaghetti squash. I don't know. But so my timing for planting these was really good. However, powdery mildew has taken all of the zucchini. I mean, it's got to come out. I just haven't had time to deal with it yet. This one is, I'm only going to get the one, even though this plant is like gigantic, the size of a 4x8 bed. So, don't know if I'm going to be growing squash next year. We'll see. Okay, let's do an end of season kind of wrap up on the Indeterminate tomatoes. What a great year they have had. The German Johnsons were the first to produce. They kind of dwindled first. They were taken by disease. I do have one little string that goes through to the other side. Not string, a branch, right? And there are some German Johnson fruit over there, but that'll be the end of it. Once I pick those will be done. Dr. Witchy's has been probably the most prolific tomato I can remember growing. Unfortunately, it's not my favorite tomato, but you know, I have a bunch of it preserved. I don't know what to tell you. The color's beautiful. The flavor has not been fantastic, so I'll definitely grow it. Well, I mean, I don't even know that I can say that. I might grow it again next year, depending on the space I have available. But it's not one of those must grow. But if you're looking for quantity, if you're looking for beautiful color, it's fantastic. I know a lot of people love the flavor, so I'm assuming it was something in the lacking in the nutrition in my bed, or you know, or I don't know what. Anything can go wrong with a tomato at any given time, so sometimes you just don't know. But the production was absolutely fantastic. The tomatoes are gigantic. The color is beautiful. Very low in seeds. I might be talking myself into growing it again, even if it's not my favorite. I have used it in a lot of products that I'm canning, and it's been perfectly fine. So we'll see how that goes. Brandy Boy is a hybrid version of the Brandywine Pink. It has been a great producer, and it is still going strong. I mean, the plants, I am, you know, it's hard not to have blight on everything this time of year in Tennessee, but it is still producing really good size tomatoes. So I'm very happy with that one. I think that's it for my Indeterminate slicers. It was the worst cherry tomato year I've ever had. Quite frankly, this bed, I don't know, this bed was not in good shape, I guess, for cherry tomatoes. It did terrible. It's where all the blight started. While we're here, the National Pickling Cucumber. If I grow pickling cucumbers again after my pickle worm experience, I'll grow this variety again. It was terrific. It did a great job, produced a lot until it got taken out by the pickle worm. And I sprayed it, and I got some good cucumbers, and then I don't know, it really had a hard time. So let's see what else I have. This is the, what is this? This is the honey nut. I have a lot. I have 1, 2 honey nut squash, butternut squash over here. They're very small, which is the variety. I don't know if you can see any of these. And they're all turning orange. They've grown really well. I probably have 6 of them on 2 plants, and they're taking up half of a 4x8 bed. And, you know, the fruit is that size. So will I grow them again? Probably not. All right, my camera battery has died, but I wanted you to see what may well be, well, I'm sure it is, the last decent harvest of the season. So here in the center, those are my sweet peppers. I know I have that kind of yucky looking one, the Romanian rainbow, but that is fully ripe. It is an heirloom pepper, so I'll be saving some seeds from that one. These are my hot peppers. I have so many Sugar Rush peach peppers in there, it's just crazy. I'll be doing a lot of fermenting today. And then I wanted you to see some of these tomatoes that we talked about. It's not a bad little harvest for as sickly as my garden looks. And it really looks bad. I gotta tell you, I mean, here's my zucchini bed. It's just covered in mildew, it's all dead, it's just kind of gross. Here are my tomatoes, you can see all the blight. And yet, this is what I get. They've had no attention lately. So that's okay. The garden produced again. So now that I have all of this information, what on earth am I going to do with it? Well, the hope is that I will come back and watch this as I'm planning next year's garden, because I want to use it to kind of rearrange my garden. I have been, monocropping isn't really the right word. You know, I garden in beds, and I tend to think this bed is going to be the paste tomato bed, this bed is going to be the pepper bed, that bed's going to be the zucchini bed. And that type of monocropping is, I think it's not working out well for me. It works fine in the peppers to some degree, but I need to do a better job with that. So I'm gonna fight to mix it up next year. I want everything to look orderly, and so when I go to plant, I want all my little peppers in one bed. I want all my little tomatoes in one bed because it looks so orderly. But you know, my goodness, by mid-July, there is nothing orderly about my garden. So next year, I hope I'm going to be brave enough to just bite the bullet and mix things up, and I'll try to do a better job in terms of where I place things to their advantage, so that particularly like in the pepper situation, I won't have some that are so shielded by their brethren who, you know, are getting full sun that they don't get enough sun on this side. So help me with that. Remind me I need to do that next year. The other thing I want to do is make sure I have the seeds that I want, so you know, I don't have to scramble for them at the beginning of the year. Now, I have a bit of a seed obsession, so there is no doubt that I will be buying more seeds throughout the year. But I have saved seeds of all of these varieties that are heirloom or open pollinated. So I'm working on that, and I'll show you a picture of what I have underway right now. And I also have been ordering seeds for the ones that are hybrids that I can't save seeds for and get a reliable product next year. So there is one seed that is not available anywhere that I have found. Even Johnny's has it back ordered until December 30th. That is the Jedi jalapeno. That is, I know I like Jedi, I like Jalafuego, but if I had to choose between the two, it would be Jedi. The only one I could find available was Jalafuego, so of course I've ordered that. But I really want those Jedi peppers, and I don't want to catch myself in a situation later this, well, I guess next year, early next year, when I can't get a particular seed that I need. So I am going to go ahead and pre-order those for delivery. I guess it would be in January when they'll come. So I already have all of my seeds in, I think, now that I have had to order. So that is good, all except for Jedi, of course, and I will pre-order that so that I get that in January, assuming all goes well. So then I'll be set, and then anything else I order is just for play, for fun, for experimentation. You know, sometimes just because it's pretty, I like to order it. So that'll be fine too. I don't care about any of that. What I do care about is making sure that I have the varieties that have been the most productive for me and that we have liked the best. So I hope that you're going through your garden as well, and you're, taking these kind of notes. If you do it on video, nobody ever has to see it, and it is easy. And I am hoping that when it comes time to really following what it is I know now I should be doing next year, that it's not just something written on paper that I can say, that's not the way I remember it, but I can at least talk to myself and say, Carter, you don't need to do that way again. You need to do it this new way. So that's my hope. I hope that you are having a wonderfully productive end of your summer garden season, and that you're headed into a fall season if your weather will allow that. I have my fall starts ready to put in. It has been so hot that I've been holding off, so hopefully they'll have time to finish up. But if not, I am pretty darn happy with how things turned out this summer. So thank you so much for being here, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.